the prosecution is trying to additionally prosecute him for communicating with the enemy. And that's a capital offence, it's a potential death penalty. The prosecution say they'll only ask for life imprisonment without parole, if you like, a living death penalty. But of course the judge is in fact free to go above that and request a death penalty. So that charge of aiding the enemy, what are they actually alleging? Are they alleging that he was dealing with the Russians? Something like this? No, not at all. They don't allege this at all. What the prosecution alleges is that Bradley Manning spoke to a journalist, gave information to a journalist from WikiLeaks,
right.
Me personally, who then gave that information to the public. And they say amongst the public there exists Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is a member of the public. And therefore, if you give information to a journalist, you're giving information to Al-Qaeda. And that he, quote, indirectly, unquote, aided the enemy in this way. Now that's a very, very serious precedent they're trying to set. They're trying to make it that any government employee in the United States who speaks to a journalist about a sensitive matter can be put to death. They're trying to destroy forever national security journalism, all journalism about drones and wars and so on.
So they're trying to destroy what? Sorry?
National security journalism. So all journalism about drones and wars and mass spying and so on, all journalism that involves government sources that speak about this.
Right.
They're terrified now. And a number of journalists have come out and said, you know, that their sources won't speak to them anymore because of this Bradley Manning case. And that is precisely the idea, to erect a precedent whereby speaking to a journalist is a death penalty offence. Now, let's look at how they're actually intending to show that, aiding the enemy.
Right.
They have already preemptively banned the defence, in this case, from talking about intent. That he was, he says, intending to communicate information to the public as a whistleblower about war crimes that he had observed and their context. They have banned that he had honourable intent. That is not a defence, they say. You cannot use that as a defence, you cannot speak about that, you can't present witnesses in relation to that, you can't present evidence in relation to that. They've also banned his defence team from making an argument that there was no harm.
Right.
Not even the US military, not even the Pentagon alleges that a single person came to physical harm anywhere in the world as a result of WikiLeaks publications. Despite all the hype and propaganda you've seen in the press, no government alleges that even a single person came to harm. So they have banned him from saying that there was no harm.
Right.
So if this was, if they arrested you for murder, someone alleged that you had committed murder, and they put you in this court that Bradley Manning faces, you could not say it was self-defense because that would be about intent. Even if you had video evidence that it was self-defense, you could not present it. You couldn't bring in the alleged victim and show, no, they're actually alive. The person is alive, because that would be evidence that there was no harm. That would be evidence as to outcome.
Right.
So what about this aiding in aiding the enemy, this word aiding? Well, the court has already, before the trial began, said that the prosecution doesn't need to show that any aiding took place for there to be a conviction of aiding the enemy.
Yeah.
And the prosecution doesn't intend to show that any aiding took place. All that they need to show, according to this court, is that Al-Qaeda, like everyone else in the world, read WikiLeaks, just like they read the New York Times or anything like that.
Right.
That's all that they need to show.
So, by what you've said...
So it's completely rigged. The whole process is completely rigged. He can't defend himself on intent, can't defend himself to say that there was no bad outcomes, there was only good outcomes. He can't defend himself by showing that Al-Qaeda was not aided by this. the prosecution don't need to prove that Al-Qaeda was aided by this. The judge has said it is enough to show that, like everyone else in the world, Al-Qaeda reads WikiLeaks.
So the prosecution, what do they say in the end of the day? I mean, do they say you aided and abetted the enemy? They don't have to say that. They just say, well, you know, you said this to the newspapers and Al-Qaeda could have seen that. And that's
right.
all they have to say.
That's right.
Well, then it should, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, they don't have to say anything else to even ask for the death penalty.
That's correct.
But
That's what this court has already found.
Yeah.
It's set up the rules. What the prosecution has to show, what the defense has to show. All the prosecution has to show for this death penalty offence is that Al-Qaeda read information in the newspapers, it was from WikiLeaks, or read information on the web from WikiLeaks. That's all. Not that anything was done with that information whatsoever. And for the defence is banned from showing that.
Now then, listen.
That he had no evil intent. His intent was to be a whistleblower.
I just got to go back over what you've said, the implications, and get back to where we are again now, because it's incredible what you've just said. And that is that Bradley Manning, if he speaks to a journalist, be it WikiLeaks or to the New York Times, and that journalist then publishes the information he's given them, then he has put that information into the public domain, and that means that amongst the public there are terrorists, there is Al-Qaeda, there are potential enemies of the government. That means that he has thereby aided the terrorists, or whoever they are, bad forces, to do some harm to the government in whatever way, I don't know, but it's aided them in some sort of way. By that process, what that means is that nobody, no journalist, will ever be able to tell anything to the public that they think the government might not like them to tell. And so what that means is that, first of all, the public is the enemy, and second, that the government, the news that ever goes out will only be news that the government supplies. So that means it's going to be a complete autocracy. It is now, but there's no disguising. It will be a complete autocracy, like there was in Russia for 100 years. If this thing goes through, if this case follows the course you're suggesting they're trying to do, then we're stuck with autocracy, because from then on nobody will be able to tell the public what's going on. Why is this show trial going to take weeks and weeks? Why isn't it over in 2 days and the judge says death penalty or not? I mean, for example...
Well, they want a big show. They want to show that lasts for 12 to 16 weeks.
What the hell are they going to talk about in that case? But I have heard, by the way, that they are trying to set you up as a sort of conspirator and conspirator. Yeah.
So
and I know that people sometimes think you shouldn't talk about yourself, because in that case you're too egocentric. But I think it's very important that you talk about what they're trying to do to you as well.
Well, it's not just to me, it's to the whole WikiLeaks organisation,
Yeah.
other people as well.
Yeah. I'm just going to try and quickly say something, probably even to the camera. First of all, so important that you inform yourself. Did you know, for example, that Bradley is British? He was brought up in Wales. And where I'm coming from, culture is so important. We live in a consumer society. We need different values. And so just very quickly, just 2 things I could say is buy less rubbish, spend your money, go to art galleries, read books, I don't know, inform yourselves, whatever, but we don't have much time. And there's an awful lot you can do. Find out what I'm doing as well. I don't know, what do we want to say quickly, because we've got to hurry up.
I think very concretely.
Except that Britain colludes in all of this as well, and we are responsible for everything that's happening.
It does, actually. Concretely, it is very important for people themselves to be involved in activism and for their family. I don't believe that people should feel compelled to care about people in Africa more than they care about their own family or their own community. I believe it is enough to begin with that they simply care about themselves, their family, people they love, and their local community. That's a good start.
Yeah.
And it is necessary for people to act against injustice in order for them to defend themselves.
The thing that makes us human, our intelligence, everything is founded on one thing, which is our social ability, but it's our imagination, the possibility to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, empathy. That's what makes us human. That's what we should cultivate, because that is where we're going to become even more human and where we're going to win against the inhuman things that are bringing us down. Trust in your best self. Don't listen to your ordinary self, where the world is run by people who only care about their ordinary selves and all the rubbish and their desires and hatred and all the horrible things that human beings can do. We've got to do ever such a lot. From our discussion, can we just go over one or two points that you think are points of hope and that should give people encouragement to stand up for things, to inform themselves and try and help, you know, a change to happen at some kind?
Concrete things that people can do right now. Well, we can educate them. First of all, you must educate yourselves, educate others, and then act. And so for education in relation to WikiLeaks issues, go to wikileaks.org, bradleymanning.org, Justice for Assange with a numeral 4. These are openings into a whole new world of information, and in the case of what WikiLeaks has published, that's a very large and complex world, extremely interesting to see it in the flesh, to see it not mediated through particular agendas or angles that the media has. But what WikiLeaks has revealed is not what simply it has published or simply the information that its sources have given to it. We've also revealed a lot about the structure of international civilization as people have seen the response to our publications.
Has WikiLeaks got all kinds of other things it will reveal eventually as well, that it is checking and verifying and everything? Not very, you know.
Yeah, we always have a lot in the pipeline.
You've got loads of stuff you still could.
We're publishing thousands of documents every day of the week.
Yeah.
Every day of the week.
Yes,
this year we're scheduled to publish more than 2 million documents.
Right. Okay. Join the alternative potential to change the world by your own activity. Talk to people about the things you care about. Find out things that are good for your soul and your human genius. Go to art galleries, like I say, go to musical concerts. Communicate. This is the important thing, isn't it? Communicate with other people, and hopefully we have a way of communicating which we can structure in something that is in opposition completely to the status quo. And the status quo, as we know, is the thing that is destroying the world at the moment. And we want to live, we want a different consensus.